All right, I just got dropped off in the Baja California desert, coastal desert here. All I've got with me are my close focus binoculars, a yerba mate, it's actually cold, my collapsible seat, my Joey camp chair, and my nature journal kit, and some good sun protection clothing, lots of it from Patagonia, obviously. Someday they're gonna sponsor me. And I've got my Shelta hat, super useful. And I've got my buff here, my sun gloves. I love these sun gloves to prevent sunburn on my hands, and I don't have to use sunscreen on my hands because that messes up my nature journaling. And I'm just dropped off here. I've got about half a day. I've got volcanoes, cool plants, cool flowers, wildflowers, reptiles, tracks, and beautiful landscape painting options. So we'll see what I can do in that time. I also have some water in my water bottle here, of course. So it's time to get to it. Woo! All right, so I got my setup here. I chose my location. It was really hard because there's a lot of amazing landscape eco options, also lots of cool vegetation, volcanoes, all kinds of stuff. But I had to decide. This is also close to a subject matter that I nature journaled yesterday. This really cool parasitic plant. Yes, there are parasitic plants. This one is achlorophoros. It doesn't produce any chlorophyll, doesn't photosynthesize, and gets all of its nutrients from parasitizing another plant. And we found one growing in this area. There's also some interesting human influence here, which is important to include in your nature journaling because our tendency is just to show the natural elements, but part of nature is in fact human influence, and it's important to include that because that's information. So there's oyster farms over there. If you've ever eaten oysters, it's good to, include your connection to nature. There's also cell phone towers and a town. I see a school bus going there. So, incorporating some of that instead of intentionally editing it out is important because you might unintentionally edit it out, and that is not like a true representation. There's an island over there, but I think I'm gonna skip that. There's some people with off-road vehicles over there. I might skip that. But just focusing on this landscape for now and making sure that I actually get something on the page. Okay, so I spent some time deciding what I was gonna fit in here and what I wasn't gonna fit in here. Spending time making that decision is one of the leverage points in the landscape painting. So definitely spend a lot of time thinking about that, because once you commit to that, it's all downhill. So I spent some time figuring out what I wanted to include, and I'm going for kind of a broad swath here. So that can be a challenge, and it's a little bit big of a landscape eco. So I'm gonna try to go fast. That way I have time to do other things. So what that means is I'm gonna try to get my values pretty close right off the bat. You can't see it very easily here, but there are some mountains way in the distance behind the volcano. You can see it more on that side. So I need to make sure that I make those really pale. Already having them align there is probably darker than the reality. So I'm gonna do my watercolor now. One of the best things about doing watercolor in the desert is the watercolor dries very quickly. So I've got my first washes here, my palest washes, and waiting for them to dry does not take very long. I'm using my wettest water brush, so a newer water brush, and that means it puts out water a little bit faster. And I like to use that for my first washes, but it can be a little bit out of control in terms of how much water it puts out. But this dry desert weather in the Baja Peninsula is helping me out, and I'm ready to go to my second wash now. All right, so I got a little bit distracted by the local colors, but I didn't completely lose the sense of depth. And that sense of depth is really, I would say, one of the main priorities in a landscape painting, at least to give it the feeling of a real landscape, that illusion of depth, that you could go into the landscape, into the distance, is one of the main things you need to try to get correct in a landscape painting if you want to have an impact on people when they look at it. I did do a sort of diagrammatic thing here, numbering of these volcanoes and some description explaining what was out there, including the oysters and stuff like that, on the page here with the writing. my time here is about running out, and if I want to catch a ride back to camp and not have to hike the rest of the day over that volcano, then I should probably get a move on it here. But I feel pretty good about at least getting this one landscape page in. I drank all of my mate, so it's about time to start walking, and maybe I can keep my nature journal handy, so if I see anything while I'm walking, I could do some nature journaling standing up. I'll pack away my folding chair and strap it onto my nature journal kit so that my hands are free for nature journaling. So I'm usually not that big of a succulent guy, but I mean, look at that. That is friggin' amazing. That is a big succulent right there. Look at that amazing waxy texture on it, surely to help with water loss. Imagine that. That is just such a crazy big Dudleya right there. So Crassulaceae, of course, is the family. Succulent is not a family, not taxonomically relevant. Succulents is just an adjective. Succulent is an adjective. Your state could be succulent, and this plant is too. More interestingly and useful would be to call it a crassula, is the succulent group that has these rosettes of leaves, and this particular one is a Dudleya. Lots of them growing on this volcano. You can see the gray colors all up in there where they're growing. Okay, so I just took a wrong turn and got a little lost. I was distracted taking a photo of a spider catching a wasp on a cool yellow flower, and then I kind of ended up on this trail that was going up the volcano, which is not where I'm trying to go right now, especially because I'm doing a lot better, but my knee is still not fully recovered from breaking my patella a couple months ago, so I need to somehow get down that way. But I just realized it when I started, the trail started going straight up that volcano right there. I was like, this is not the right way. So I have to look for tracks from yesterday. Wait, I see my tracks coming this way from yesterday. So maybe we turned off of the main trail somewhere. Oh no, we walked back a different way yesterday. So I'm not gonna be whoa, cool bug. Oh my god. Okay, so moral of the story is, when you're in the desert wandering around, don't get too distracted by cool bugs. I think this is the way to go. It's always a good sign when you're lost in the desert and you start finding skulls. This is a really cool one. Any guesses what it is? Post in the comments below. I think I missed my ride, but at least I found my way off of the volcano, and I think I'm on the right path, or a path that will lead to the right path now. But one thing after that fateful trip in Costa Rica where I broke my patella while hiking in the cloud forest, I luckily was with Esteban on that hike. So, you know, even though I was unconscious for a little bit after slipping and hitting my knee on that rock, and luckily there was someone with me, you know, and even though I didn't realize it was broken at the time, and I was able to limp out of there the 5 miles that remained on the crazy muddy trails and creek crossings. At least I had someone with me to motivate me, you know. But since that time, I kind of let these guys pass. Since that time, I had kind of made a promise to myself, or decided that I wouldn't be going on hikes by myself too much. But and I guess that I've kind of broken that promise already. So luckily there's people out here, so like if you ever do get stuck, like you saw that truck just go by, you could always get a ride, and it's not that far now to camp, but hopefully I get there before they go off and drive out to the point, because I would love to see this other point out here and do some nature journaling there. Yes, I see our camp over there, and I didn't have to hike up that whole volcano to get there, so I definitely made a good choice to kind of follow my instinct and leave that trail that I was on and kind of cut across off trail to get back to camp. So hopefully the guys are still there and I'll get a chance to check out that point, because that's the point that they were talking about driving out to, way out there. There's supposed to be a really great surf break, but also we'll just be in. That was a super fun nature journaling trip dropped off in the desert in Baja. I made it out and got to do a lot more nature journaling on that trip as part of a science expedition, because I think that nature journaling has a role to play and can make the world a better place. And if you agree with me and want to become a member of my Patreon to get more access and support my mission to make the world a better place through nature journaling, click on the link up here and you can find out all about it. If you can't wait all the way until next week for the next episode of the show, check out one of these videos here. Bye.